So, hello, is this loud enough? So, this is the title. We will start with a quiz. Here you have a CD front page. Do you know which language is that? Well, you have η Μακεδονία and Ελληνικών. Well, the answer has been already given by the title. It's Pontic. For those of you who don't know what this means, Pontic Greeks are a very specific ethnic group that came to Greece after the 1922 population exchange with Turkey. Pontos is the Black Sea, so they were living at the northern coast of what today is Turkey. And they came to Greece, but they had a very specific, very particular culture and dances, language, and a feeling of identity. But, well, the reply, it is Pontic, is not that simple, because the way these people defined this language and themselves as well was Romaica. And Professor Magritte has studied this language extensively. So they call this language Romaica, which means Roman. I mean, they were subjects of the Eastern Roman Empire, which we call Byzantine in quotation marks. So we see this ambivalence. This identity has already two names, the language and the people as well. But then there is another ambivalence, a deeper one, because this phrase is a sort of an oxymoron, or it is a preposterous phrase in the temporal sense of the term, a protheiston, as we say in Greek, because the people who in the first place spoke that language did not give a damn about what Macedonia is, if it is Greek or where Macedonia lies, for that matter. Those who care are the people who live now in Thessaloniki and other places in Macedonia and are of Pontic origin, and they want to show their belonging to a long tradition and a nation culture underlined by the kemenche, this musical instrument there, which has been translated as the Pontic lira. So there too we have two names, I mean one Asian Greek and one Turkish, probably Persian, Farsi maybe, I don't know, kemenche. These kind of performative contradictions occur usually, for example, when we try to translate to ancient languages or to dialects, like modern novels like Harry Potter has been translated into Greek, and then you have to invent words for things that did not exist, such as spaceship, or you have to find a Latin word to translate policeman or grenade, or this kind of things that did not exist then. This example is not arbitrary, because the problem has indeed arisen, how do you say in English? Participle? Arisen. Because, as you see, somebody did try to translate, and they did translate asterisk into Pontian, / Romaica. Σπαθία και τραντάφυλλα, έγραψαν και ζωγράφησαν Αλμπέρι Ντερζό. The gesture of translating a text, whatever text this is, to a language is a very... Here I follow a guy called Akis Gavriilidis, who is a theoretician of translation, who essentially claimed that the translation is the act whereby the natural language comes to being. It's not that first we have entities like languages and then we start translating from one another. But the act of translation constructs the notion of a natural language as an entity. So this performative gesture puts Pontic / Romaica on the map, as we say in Greek. I don't know if you say that in English, but to give being to something that is virtual, we say that the term έβαλε στο χάρτη, put somebody on the map. Speaking of maps, here's a map for you. This is the classical map, the map of Gaul, which features at the beginning of each asterisk album. What's interesting, and which confirms Akis Gavriilidis' claim that there is a radical incommensurability between the original and the translation, Here indeed there is one commensurability, which consists in a parenthesis. The Pontic/Aramaic text of this legend, of these maps, goes 50 χρόνια προτού να γεννιέται ο Χριστόν, οι Ρωμαίοι, which means 50 years before Christ was born, the Romans. And here there is a parenthesis which exists in no other translation. Όχι τεμετέρ, αλλά εκείνοι ασυρώμητοι Ιταλίας, which means not us, those Romans from Italy, because they are Romans, and Romans are those who have conquered all the world. So he clarifies, it's not us who conquered all the world, it's the Romans from Italy. But then there is also a double identification here too, because there is one identification with the Romans and another with the Gauls, because the Gauls eftan αντίσταση. They are doing resistance. They resist a powerful, empire, and they keep to their culture and they resist. We know all this theory by Benedict Anderson about the role of maps and printed capitalism for the beginning of nationalism and everything. But then there is yet another ambivalence which is posed clearly. This gesture, there is also another incommensurability. This Asterix album, when you buy it, it has in it a leaflet explaining, it has a glossary, a little lexicon, and then an introduction which goes η Ποντιακή γλώσσα. The title means the Pontic language. So if the Pontic is a language, then it's not Greek, because it's not a dialect. The title says that η Ποντιακή γλώσσα. The text, the first phrase says, η Ποντιακή, the Pontic adjective with no noun, είναι μία διάλεκτος της ελληνικής γλώσσας, is a dialect of the Greek language. So you have both. You have this waltz. I mean, then first you say it's a language, then you say, no, excuse me, it's not a language, it's a dialect. There is a radical indecisiveness, as maybe Derrida would say. But then there is yet another very impressive element. This is the third page. Ο Κοσσινή και ο Ιντερζό παρουσιάζουν τα περιπέτειας με τον Αστερίκονα στην Γαλατία. Στα ποντιακά έκλωσε να το τη σαβάντων ο Γέργων. This is the credit for the translator. So this guy identifies himself in a different way than the Greek state identifies him. Because honestly, as a standard Greek speaker, I cannot tell what this guy's name is. I guess Giorgos Savidis or Savaidis could be Savidis. But this guy does not say Giorgos, says Gergon, the Romaica version. And also he denotes kinship in a different way, in a different register than the Greek bureaucracy. His name on his Greek passport does not appear like that. So he says, I am from the family of the Savases, the Savandon. Like in French you say the DES of his family name. Speaking of names, what is a name? Well, we will not answer this question now, but one possible answer is a name is what you do not translate. You never translate a name, or do you? Unless